I have few questions for all of you. What can I expect in a Toastmasters meeting? What is in it for me? What can a club experience offer? How do I learn and grow in Toastmasters? Will it help me professionally? I know, like me, all of you must be waiting to get the answers for all these questions. So today, Division H is here with an amazing initiative to help you get the answers for these questions. And also to change your perspectives, your thoughts, and maybe your dreams and aspirations. The Leaders Talk series, where Division H will bring eminent leaders to ignite us through the pearls of wisdom. Leaders Talk series will be a monthly event where we will have enlightening educational sessions, intriguing interviews, and phenomenal panel discussions. So whether you are hoping to land that big promotion or simply want to feel more confident when communicating with co-workers, Toastmasters can help teach the skills you need. And for that, today we have a very dynamic leader with us to kickstart the very first session of this Leadership Talk series. And to know how Toastmasters can leverage our professional life, we have none other than distinguished Toastmaster Nina John. She is a charter member from Chennai Toastmasters Club, first in Chennai and Tamil Nadu. She's also a past district director of District 82, chief judge of District 82, and currently mentor pool chair for District 120. She's also an author, executive coach, and professional speaker. So dear Toastmasters, please put your hands together to welcome distinguished Toastmaster Nina John for her special educational session, Toastmasters at Work. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ashwati. That was a wonderful introduction. And I hope all those over here are interested in furthering their professional careers. We're talking always in terms of how can I become a better Toastmaster? How can I become a better person? And most importantly for this session, how can I become a better professional? So when we're talking about the word professional, the words that immediately come to mind are doctor, engineer, even a teacher. All of which, if you realize, have a training period of a long duration. There is either an internship or an apprenticeship or whatever, and then you become qualified as a professional. But not all professions require this kind of rigorous internship and, the license to allow you to call yourself by that particular name. After all, we know every second person calls themselves a trainer. And we know that everyone who gets onto the radio once or twice becomes a radio jockey and forever has the names RJ Ashwati for, you can just put that onto your name. Whereas if you are a medical person, unless you have that full degree, you cannot be Dr. Ashwati Rajan. So since you have a doctorate, you can say Dr. Ashwati Rajan, but otherwise you can't. So what exactly do we mean by professionalism? So I'm going to talk in terms of, one second, yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I'm trying to get see how professional I am. I'm trying to get everything into order. And of course, Murphy's Law says it will not work when I want it to. So have a little patience, please. And I will be right back with you guys, trying to get this into order. All right. So The professional is, can you see just the slide or can you see the entire thing?
No, it is not in full mode, full screen.
All right. Let me see again if I can. This to one side. Yes. Is this better?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Right. So we're talking about how does Toastmasters help you to become a professional? Because this is a world where we have multitasking, we have remote work, and yet Toastmasters says, Toastmasters is all about communication and leadership. I can become a leader. When we have so many different tasks that we have going for us, how do we actually become leaders? There's a book by Subrata Bakshi. The book is called The Professional, and he very clearly indicates that a professional is a person with the ability to work unsupervised, to certify the completion of a job or task, and to behave with integrity at all times. Now, in his particular book, he gives the example of a gentleman in Bangalore called Mahadevan, who was an orphan and was, orphaned at this hospital, and he was just stuck there not knowing what to do. Somebody died in the hospital and the police said, go and bury this body. And this particular Mahadevan took it upon himself to do that. He's been doing this for decades. Never a question of doing a slipshod job. He will ensure that the body is buried with all the rights and the decorum required for it. That is integrity when no one is there to supervise. Individuals can be professionals in their own way. We're all used to auto drivers who ask for meter mela konjam podunga and take us for a ride wherever they can. And then the media went gaga over Auto Anna, who flies on the OMR route, makes sure that his customers are taken care of in terms of water, juice, magazines, Wi-Fi, whatever you want, he's got that in his auto. And as far as I can see, he now spends more time on public platforms talking about his thing than he does actually driving that auto. But that's a perfect example of someone who is an auto driver. So I'm going to talk in this particular talk is in three different aspects. One, the overall macro view of the world. Second, the organizational challenges that are faced by organizations. And thirdly, what are the personal and professional challenges that individuals have as individuals, and how does Toastmasters relate to that? So as I said, this is the definition of a professional. And he also defines professionalism first and foremost as having integrity. Now, integrity is the ability to do things without a manager, without an idea that someone is looking over your shoulder, and because they're looking at you and keeping track of your thing, you will do the work to the best of your ability. But it is also a question of how you do your job, the quality of work every single time. It is a given that a professional will also have domain knowledge, which is constantly updated, whether it is in your field, whether it is in a related field, whether you have a passion about, what do you actually know and how are you doing that? Commitment and ownership. Those of us in Toastmasters will realize, oh, there's a contest coming up, oh my God, and the VPE will get into a flap and everyone will have a lot of things to do. But if you gather together a team of people and say it is your responsibility to see that you take care of the contest documents, you are taking care of the logistics. This is what you have to do. And when that person takes that ownership and commits to the job, you have a leader in the making. Again, part of professionalism is planning to the best ability possible, punctuality, and time management. These are absolutely essential for anybody who is any kind of a leader. There is no such a thing as Indian Standard Time or Chalta Hai or whatever when it comes to being a professional. You deliver on time every time. So that time management refers not only to your daily chores, it also refers to keeping up for deadlines, handing over projects on time, and ensuring that your work is always up to the mark. And all of these things will help you become an inspiration simply by doing things yourself. Don't look around for other people to become an inspiration. Be an inspiration. That's the one way you can get people to get behind you, and the one way you can get things done. And a long-term vision. In Toastmasters, we have so many people who take up XCOM jobs. 6 months, oh my God, they're so happy. 6 months, president, end of the story. We don't see those people again. And the club suffers. What have you done as a president? What is your long-term vision for the club? There are, for example, clubs that are coming up with milestones. If that milestone is not within your particular term, what are you doing to ensure that your club can make sure that this can be done in terms of planning for example, your 50th milestone, your 500th milestone? It depends. Every single person has a different kind of this thing. So how do we do that? So think about how you can do it and think long term. So again, during this lockdown time, there has been an industry disruption. The travel industry, the hospitality industry, the medical industry, education, completely overturned as far as norms of the earlier years were concerned. The way we have studied, done tests, given exams, waited for results for the last 70, 100 or 100 years no longer applies. So what are we going to do about these challenges? As far as one way of coping was concerned, offices started work from home. But how is that affecting work-life balance? Bringing work home and taking your home to the office is what is happening now, because anytime that video is on, your colleagues can see your house, and your manager expects a totally sterile, quiet environment, which is just not possible. So managers also have to think in terms of, how can I keep my people comfortable? Do I call at odd times? Do I give notice about when I am calling? Does the work need my calling up like this? Do I have specific times when their meeting is on to call that person? And now the big raging argument is, should workers, employees, associates have their cameras on for all meetings all the time? This is another challenge people have, because we are all suffering from Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue has been researched as an actual thing that happens because you're staring at a small screen all day long. You're looking at different heads in the panel. You don't know their real reactions. You don't know what's happening. You don't know how to react. And as they said, for women, you're much more conscious of somebody staring at you. So you want to be at least decently dressed, or you want your hair and face and all to look nice and made up or whatever. The stress of doing that all the time. So if you turn that video off, are you working quietly along with the meeting? Are you responding, or are you doing something else? We don't know. But can companies insist on this? We have to think of these as leaders. We have to think in terms of, how do we make our people more comfortable? So technology can be both an enabler and a disruptor. Today, we're working with a multinational, multi-generational, multicultural workforce. If we have a team, that team could be from the Philippines, Vietnam, America, India, anywhere. Members of that team could be 18 years old, 65 years old. Are the norms that were used for working the same to be applied now? Organizations actually don't know how to measure the productivity of individuals and teams today. If it is a specific project, yes, you can hand it over. But the requirement of people to be in an office from 9 to 5, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Is it necessary for people to be there like that? All over the world, there is now a question of the great resignation. Am I happier doing work like this on my own? Am I happier not coming back to the office? Do I have opportunities elsewhere? Can I switch jobs? Can I switch careers? Organizations are panicking because this is what's happening across the world. You must learn how to, in terms of the individual, remember, no matter what happens, you have to ensure you are upskilling. Sometimes, if you're thinking in terms of promotions, if you're thinking in terms of anything to be done, it is not only upskilling, it may be skilling, upskilling, and reskilling. Because these are what are required, and what will also be required is multi-skilling. No more can you be just a specialist and give just kind of one thing and get on with that. You will have a lot of other things to do. So how are you planning your career? What are you doing in terms of developing public speaking and presentation skills? In terms of teamwork, remember tomorrow, the future of tomorrow is in collaboration across the world. Learn to be a follower first, be a contributory member, only then can you become a leader. So remember that in terms of all these things, you have to think in terms of travel, culture, etiquette, etc. The most important thing is listening skills. Listening skills are going to help you build up relationships. Listening skills are what are going to help you with your relationships in the office, your relationships in the family, everywhere. Learn to listen. And Toastmasters is the best place you have for this. So how does the Toastmaster meeting help you? A club meeting is generally an exercise in project management. Every week you are setting up a project. We're going to have a meeting. Who's involved? Who's accountable? Who's got actions to take? What are our deliverables? How do we do that? Project management on a micro scale, replicable wherever you are. Higher roles and responsibilities. Take up roles at the XCOM and other levels, because this is management and leadership in action. There is something called, there are 2 or 3 different projects in your pathways. One is the HPL, High Performance Leadership Project, that requires you to have a project which involves getting somebody as an advisory committee and getting someone to do the work. So you're basically a 3-layer organization. You learn to listen to your management. You learn to evolve your own leadership style according to what is required. And then you have people to do it for you. And that's how you learn people management. And that's how you become a leader. So running team contests or events are again projects that will help you. And you will learn conflict management, negotiation skills, and time management with all of these. So that's how Toastmasters helps you in this. And what I will do now is I'll leave the floor open for questions. I think that is the thing we had. So I'm leaving it open for questions. Those of you who would like to ask me any kind of questions on what we've done so far, we've got an open session for about 10 minutes. Am I right, Ashwati? 10 minutes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So anyone who wants to ask any questions on what we've done so far, please feel free. Ask any kind of questions whether related to Toastmasters or professionalism. Yes.
My question is, So nowadays, like some years back, it was about specialization, and now it is about uh, generalist specialist.
Right.
That is the new term which has come. So can you? You spoke something about it. I felt in whatever you said until now. Can you, give more? Can you
More on
throw
that?
more light on that? Yeah.
Right. See, if you look at any organization as a pyramid, right? A triangle or a pyramid or whatever you want to call it. The lowest layer and the largest layer is made up of people, of whether you call them, if it's a manufacturing organization, you call them workers. If it is an IT organization, you call them techies, team leads, project leads, all of these people, right? The middle layer is middle management, the ones who get the work done, right? The top layer are the owners, the entrepreneurs, the CEOs of the organization. Now, for a CEO, it is not necessary for him to have coding skills, but he needs a long-term view and a vision of where is the industry going? Where do I lead my organization from where it is today? What are the trends in the future? You know, Bill Gates and all these people, they have a 2 weeks think tank. They go off, I don't know if it's Davos or one of those exotic places that all these millionaires and billionaires always seem to go on holiday to, but they have 2 weeks during which they sit and they get the best thinkers in the world. You know, something rather like your TED. They get the best thinkers in the world and they study trends, which is why, for example, Bill Gates was able to predict the pandemic and say that we're going to have a pandemic. This is what is required. This is what countries should do. And nobody heard him. So an organization has to think in terms of what is going to happen in the future. At any given time, there will always be a disruptor that comes from a totally different field. Kodak was one of the best camera companies in the world. It is defeated by the fact that every single mobile has a camera. For a long time, people were not actually buying cameras because they had mobile phones. Now the wheel has turned full circle, and because people are not happy with the quality of Samsung cameras, they're going for high-end cameras, DSLRs, and they're going on your wildlife photography and things that require an entirely different set of things. So as a generalist, you need to know what is happening. You need a macro view of your organization. But as a specialist, you may also be providing the kind of, in terms of coding, do you know what's happening in the world? Do you know what's the next thing? Are you, creating the next app? What are you doing? So there's a bit of both. So just being a specialist is not enough. Being a generalist is not enough. You need to combine the talents of both these to ensure that your organization functions. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Ma'am, I have a question. This is about HPL. You spoke about HPL. So I just want to know any one example. You must have come across many such projects where it actually helped a member to climb at least one step in their professional ladder. So any
yeah, we have this gentleman called Dr. Trinath Rao from Madras Toastmasters Club. So he took up as an HPL training of he did a good presentation in his office. Everybody was very happy with him. So he trained, it started as an informal thing, and he's trained a whole lot of people in almost a speechcraft presentation kind of a thing, which, it has brought him visibility in the organization. It has brought him credibility. It has done so many other things. I have another person who I think now he's a VP in Infosys. I'm not very sure, very senior person. His project was a very, very big project. That is to eradicate blindness in India. But for what it was worth, he set up cataract awareness camps in his colony, in different places, along with a whole lot of other people. So your HPL can be entirely of your interest, and it can help you in many ways, not necessarily in your particular organization, but it could have a different social cause or whatever. It's entirely up to you. An HPL, you can set up a mobile library in your colony, or you can do something, for your, right now everyone's under lockdown. Do something for your housing complex, do something for that. Yeah, that's a perfectly good HPL. So there are a lot of things that can be done. Yeah. In my case, for example, setting up the mentor pool, I use that as an HPL. And I'm encouraging all my mentor pool coordinators to get their HPL, because this is what they have to do. They have to organize mentor pool coordinators at the club level. They have to get them to do this work in terms of the mentoring and mentor protege mapping. And then you have us as an advisory committee. So all the conditions for HPL are fulfilled, and the entire project can take 1 year, but it's an HPL. So that's one. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am. Neena, ma'am, this is Sneha from Dynamic Forum,
Hi, Sneha.
Leaders
Yes.
Forum Toastmasters Club. Okay, I have a question. Like nowadays, when we work with youngsters, right? They are way far better in their technical skills. So they think they are better than seniors, experienced people. So how do you think we should handle it?
I used to take public speaking for students, and there was this very bright, brilliant young child in standard 5, and I had given this topic for debate that children know everything. Parents don't need to teach them anything. Right? And this young girl, I told you, standard 5, she said, parents know facts of life and other things, but we just know facts from books. So you will find that some of the youngsters may be good technically, and that certainly gives some of them an attitude, but it's not just what you're doing in terms of IT, it's a question of how you are applying it. And if you are a slightly older person, you will find that it's not necessarily the actual coding or the technical thing that is important. It is the teamwork and how are you getting together as a team and developing things. So each of you will have talents, will have strengths in different areas. And the really good team leader or manager is the one who can get you to work together as a team and ensure that, just because you've come with the latest Java or whatever straight out of college does not make you an authority in every aspect of corporate life. So, and there are things you can learn from them. There are things you can teach them. So each one has, yes. So does that mean my time is up for this session? Okay, so
Q&A session is.
sorry, so any more questions? I think there's a little more time for questions.
Yeah, good evening. This is Karmaswamy from Rising Pillar Toastmaster Club.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. Thank you very much, madam, for the wonderful speech. I have one question. See, you have narrated how better we can perform in Toastmaster, personal and then profession. How to balance in timings? See, when we are concentrating on profession, sometimes we are unable to concentrate on Toastmaster as well as personal works. How you are balancing and suggest us how we have to go about that for a successful person.
So, if you ask, Any married woman with kids, she'll tell you all about time management. Okay. It is part of every woman's DNA to do multi-skilling, multitasking without a problem. In case of time management, I think it's also a question of priorities. So attending a Toastmaster meeting every week, a lot of people say, oh, it's such a waste of time, things like that. But when you attend every week, you are absorbing from all the other speakers, from all the other evaluators, from the entire, even from the audience at the table. You're learning knowledge, getting general knowledge from the table topics, speeches, all of those things. So you're actually absorbing a lot of things which will help you in your work. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
when you do that, and when you, I always tell people, whatever you're learning in Toastmasters, apply that in your office. So whatever you're learning, make sure that you are applying that in your office and ensure that you are carrying that out. You learn a word a day, use that in your office. You learn time management, you learn, see, table topics teaches you how to speak within 2.5 minutes. Use that in your office meetings to make your point at a meeting so that people say, oh, that guy knows what he's talking. He makes his point like this and he doesn't waste time. So when you learn how to use Toastmasters over there, you will find that you're actually benefiting. And the reverse is also true. If you have a best practice in the office, bring it to Toastmasters and use it over here. In terms of time management, it's always a question of priorities. If you're interested, you will make time. If you're not interested, you will make an excuse.
Thank you, ma'am.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope that was useful. Yes, sir. Any other questions? All right, there's one in the chat box. I have a couple of minutes, I think, for the time, Ashwati.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we can.
All right. Can you please elaborate on setting a long-term vision in professional life? How Toastmasters helps here? See, in Toastmasters, one of the things that if you want to take up leadership positions, think beyond your club. What are you doing? First of all, I would say if you're a new member, take up what take up the roles during the club meetings. If you're slightly had some time, take up either an associate XCOM, or if you're a brand new club, obviously an XCOM member itself. Think beyond the club in the sense of each term is only 6 months. What have you learned in terms of being a treasurer? What have you learned in terms of being a secretary? What have you learned in terms of being a VPE and a president? President is the CEO. So what have you learned about how do you set goals for the club? How do you learn how to keep things for yourself? What is your long-term vision as far as pathways is concerned? Which are the paths you have chosen? How are they helping you professionally? How many of these can you do in the office, and how many of them will help you? You can do an HPL in the office also. That's a fantastic thing you can do. It'll give you visibility and all of those things. So have a long-term vision in terms of your career also. How has HR told me in terms of my career path? What are my opportunities within this organization? What are my opportunities outside this organization? We have Toastmasters who jumped from being managers in Amazon. For example, Alexander Babu was a senior manager in Amazon, won a lot of humorous speech contests, chucked up his managerial job to become a full-time stand-up comedian. We have others who do stand-up comedy side by side with their jobs. We have people who become trainers, coaches, authors. A long-term vision is what is life for me 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And as a Toastmaster, what can I do for my club for at least 1 year or 2 years? How do I help my people? Those are the things you need to think in terms of long-term vision. Right? What I will do is go back to my presentation. Yes, and please keep your questions ready. We're going to have another set of open questions like this for the next one also. So as I said, Toastmaster meetings, you can have both, in terms of all these different tasks, how does it work? And Toastmasters, we're talking about communication skills. Remember, as an individual, first thing the Toastmasters does is teach you self-awareness. And this is very, very important. What stage of communication skills am I now? What do I need to improve? And it's not just speeches. Please remember, every time you write a speech, you are improving your writing skills. You are creating a speech by collecting a whole lot of information, removing the unnecessary, irrelevant bits, and creating a speech that can be delivered in 5 to 7 minutes. What level am I now? Am I okay? Am I good? Am I excellent? Am I good enough to contest? Can I speak better than my colleagues? What is my level of communication skills? Self-motivated. Everyone takes up parts. Nobody finds the time to do their projects. The VP is forever chasing various people saying, please, I have a slot, do it here. And every week in the D120 leadership thing, I see slot available for this role or that role. Do every single role several times, only then will you be able to do it. Do not say, I've done it once, I've done it twice. And that is not the way to mastery and expertise. Be a self-motivated person. Set yourself goals as far as your pathways is concerned, as far as your Toastmaster growth is concerned. I know people who said and believe me, this is genuine story. When I was district LGET, that is 12 years ago, I had 2 people telling me that they were going to be international president, and one of them is already on his way. He is going to be international president of Toastmasters International next year or the year after. Yeah. So that's long-term vision and self-motivation to do all that you want, focusing on that one goal. Confidence, listening skills, these are all that lead to influencing skills. And Toastmasters is the best possible place you can have for networking, because it first within your club and overall across countries and continents, Toastmasters is now the best place for networking. Taking initiative. A lot of people say, okay, if the VP tells me, then I will do a thing. If someone calls me up, I will do that. If I have a role, then I will attend the Toastmaster meeting. You are cutting short your own growth. Participate wholeheartedly in every single activity that is there in Toastmasters, because this is what teaches you the people skills of interacting with others, interpersonal skills. Today, in every single professional magazine, these are the skills that you need for today and for the future. Collaboration. You have to collaborate in teams. As a member of a team, as I said, you already, being a team member, follower, leader, all of this is tied up in that. You should be social media savvy, have some, even if you're not on Twitter and if you're not making TikTok videos or whatever, be aware of what are all the different social media things available. Learn to cope with management and managing change, because that is the most important thing in this life. Everything is changing, and everything is changing faster than we ever expected it to be. To give you an example, your first thing that we had in terms of music were your vinyl records. Then you had those tape records, those huge things, they became smaller. Then you had, and the gap between your music, graphite vinyl records and your long-term big tapes, and then the smaller cassette tapes and your iPod, and from there straight on to the gap is closing. So technology is moving so fast, you have to be aware of what is happening, and you need to manage that change. Remember, once upon a time, we all had kerosene stoves replaced by now gas, replaced by electric stoves, replaced by microwaves. So everywhere change is coming, and much, much faster than it was earlier. Presentation skills, absolutely crucial for managers of this century. You cannot survive without presentation skills, and Toastmasters gives you that opportunity to do anything and everything all the time. In terms of leadership, integrity, I cannot emphasize this enough. We have area directors, we have individuals, we have all kinds of people who want to have one big target and boast that they have set up 3 clubs, 5 clubs, 20 clubs. Are those sustainable clubs that will last after you have left? It is a very short-term vision to do all these things and do something total lack of integrity, which is to pay for those members out of your own pocket just to make sure that you do this. Those are the kind of shortcuts I'm talking about. Avoid those and make sure that you will get on with what is required. Emotional intelligence. Absolutely essential again, because in this day and age, at one time we met in the office, we could talk, you could gauge a person's mood from the way they were. Now it is more and more difficult for you to do it across cameras, across computers. So set up your antenna to understand your fellow workers, see if someone is depressed, see if they need any help, talk to them, literally talk to them. The rates of depression, suicide, all of these across the world are rising simply because people are not talking. Openness to technology, I already said. Coaching and mentoring. This is one of the most important elements of a leader. All of us have grown up in different schools where there was a single teacher who would spark your interest in a particular subject, or a single teacher who took the time and effort to understand why you were crying in the corridor. People who want to share their knowledge, people who are interested in growing other people to become better than them. Those are the people that you should also try to be. And here, this is where self-management comes in. Understand yourself, see your own SWOT, have your own SWOT analysis, self-management, what are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? What can you do to improve these, mitigate these, avoid these, ensure that these are better? And all of this can also add up to a certain degree of personal branding. Some people like to do it consciously, posting on LinkedIn, posting on Facebook, posting on all these things. So see how, if you're doing this, ensure that there is a consistency and an alignment in the postings that you have in LinkedIn, FB, and everywhere else. That is important, because when you're changing jobs, when you're applying for anything, your organization is going to check what is happening in all of these. Remember, there is no such a thing as a secret in today's world. Everyone is connected on the computer and everyone can track what you have said, not 1, not 2, 5 and 10 and 15 years ago. So make sure you understand. Today, as I said, cross-cultural and cross-generational sensitivity, just as Sneha asked just now, what happens if somebody who's younger than you is trying to, has attitude? What do you do when people have different cultural norms? Learn how to do that. And one thing I'd like to mention over here is the fact that today we're having so many international meetings with clubs across the country, across different districts. Be aware and be sensitive of the kind of cultural norms that each one has. So recently someone was saying, whatever you do, please don't call me ma'am. And we're like, we're Indians, we call everybody sir, madam, we do this all the time. And she said, no, if you're speaking to somebody in the US or you're speaking to somebody in Europe, do not use the word ma'am. I hate it. It's a very colonial hangover, whatever. So you have to be aware of the fact that in some cultures may prefer formalities, like the Germans may prefer more formal things, whereas the Americans prefer a more informal way of talking. Whoever you're talking to, be aware of the fact that there is a difference. Conflict management is a given as far as where there are people, there will be conflict. Husband and wife, children, hostel mates, any kind of teams or whatever you have, you will have conflict. How do you handle that conflict? Depends entirely on you and what you can do with it. But remember, one tip I'd like to give you. In the office, if you have a disagreement within the organization, within the meeting or whatever, when the meeting is over, once, you can argue as much as you like when the meeting is going on. Once the meeting is over, forget it, go out for a cup of coffee with the other person to the cafeteria and get on with it. Do not spoil your relationships because of a conflict. The same thing I would say applies to Toastmasters. Some people take their titles a little too seriously. When they lose, when they contest for a particular district position or whatever, and they lose, they get all het up and they blame various other people and they'll make one big fuss about it. And so I know people who actually left because they did either they or their candidate did not get a trio position or whatever. So please don't take Toastmasters so seriously that you ruin your life. This is advice from someone who's been there, seen that, and I know it's not worth it. So negotiation skills, you will learn. If you're a corporate person, negotiation skills is going to HR saying, I want a venue, we want this conference room every week. Can we have it at this time? How do you do that? All of that you learn as a Toastmaster. And how do you see the ability to lead teams remotely is another crucial factor in today's world. See how you're doing it, see how you're getting together and get on with it. And creativity. You can have creativity in your table topics. We're looking at the fact that tomorrow's world has to have people who are creative and diverse in their thinking. Creativity and diversity are the two most important factors in tomorrow's world. Be sure you do that. This is how you develop your general leadership skills and become the kind of leader you want to be through multitasking, through leading diverse teams, all of these together. And this is good for both the organization and for your individual, because a well-rounded, grounded individual is what is going to help your organization become better, will help your organization to grow. All of these together are very, very important. So whatever you do in Toastmasters, carry it over to your organization, and both ways, the synergy is fantastic. I'm sure as an individual, every one of us has these different kind of concerns. My family comes first. How do I take care of my family? My profession next, because my family and profession are totally tied up. What about finances? Do I have enough finances after this, during this lockdown, after this lockdown, for basics, necessities, or luxuries? How do I manage my finances and what do I need to do for that? Do I have a passion that I want to follow? Is it going to replace my profession? Is it going to supplement my profession? I don't know. How do I actually do that? So in terms of leisure, what am I looking at? In terms of education, do I need to do anything to improve my finances, profession, whatever? Remember, the other advantage of the lockdown is actually now you have access to a huge amount of resources in terms of education. The best of universities are offering certificate courses absolutely free of charge. So take up your passion, take up a particular domain area and specialize in that. So that is part of the whole thing. And remember your Toastmaster values. Just keep these in mind: integrity, respect, service, and intelligence, excellence. Everything you do in Toastmasters, everything you do in your professional life, everything you do in your personal life, follow the example of integrity, keep your values intact, and you will be fine. Respect everybody else in the organization, in your family, and in your association. When you give respect, you get respect. Remember, you cannot demand respect. So make sure you do that. In terms of service, think of service as something that you do for others to help others. It does not have to have a payback. It can be the most rewarding thing you can do is be a POT, plain old Toastmaster without a title, do work that is required. And for all these things, the one most important thing you have to remember, excellence in everything you do. First time, every time. Your GE at the Toastmasters meeting is checking your level at the efficiency level of the meetings. Make sure every meeting has improved because of that. Make sure you have improved every single time you do a role or present a speech or do a project. Because if you don't have excellence, you will invite. See, on my Facebook thing, I had the status once. Excellence is a choice. So is mediocrity. It is up to you to decide if you want to be just another associate, just another professional, just another person, or you want to excel and you want to be the best person in that field. The Michael Jordans, Sachin Tendulkars, all of these people never competed against others. They always compete against themselves. And that's what you need to remember when we talk about Toastmasters, professionals, individuals. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I come to the end of my presentation. These are my details if anybody wants to take them down. And with that, I'm handing it back to the crowd for questions.
The forum is again open for questions. So please, you can feel free to unmute and ask questions, or even you can type your questions in the chat box. Okay, ma'am, I have a question. So this is about leadership skills. So is it okay if an aspiring leader takes up many tasks at a time? So do you think one at a time is always a better option, or is it okay that if the leader is able to do justice with all the tasks?
See, that's difficult to answer because some people are good at multi-skilling, some people are not. So this is exactly where you analyze yourself and see whether you can do it or not. So if you feel you can handle it is in terms of priorities, in terms of time, do you have the time to devote to it? Do you have the time to pay attention to it and do a good job of it? Fine. And one more thing which I would like to add, a really good leader is the one who can say no to people. So when you're asked to take up something, you should have the courage to say no. Even in meetings, you should have the courage to stand up and say, no, this is not right. And those are the things that I would also add for leadership. Just be able to say no.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else?
Ma'am, one question.
Yes, sir.
So my question is, ma'am, whenever we start, I mean, I'm talking about personally for myself. So whenever I start something, let's say now I am a VP education. So when I became a VP education for my club, from then to now, so the intensity of, getting things moving for the meetings has reduced. So how can I sustainably, do similar intensity throughout the year? Because this is not only about this thing, but many other things. I start something in the beginning, the intensity is more, and moving forward, the intensity, reduces, and then, some things, fall off.
Right. I think, especially for VP education, I would suggest 3 Ds. One is division, delegation, and deputation. In the sense of division, make sure that you divide all the tasks that are required. So you know very clearly the booking of weekly slots, right? That has to be done. Contests, what are the things that are required for the contest? What are the extra things I'm talking of in terms of guest speakers or special sessions or any of those things? So once you divide all your tasks equally, delegate. Get someone to help you with all of those so that you know very clearly who is doing what. Now, for example, your club wants to release a magazine. Put one person in charge of that magazine. They can have a subcommittee. You don't have to stay looking at that thing throughout the year. But you know, like, once in 3 months, the thing has to come up, has to be released. Who is in charge? Are they doing a job? Fine. We have contests. In terms of contests, who is going to be the contest master? How do we think in terms of where do we get judges? The entire logistics. Where do we get judges from? How do we have the documents? Do we have the bandwidth for conducting the contest with ourselves? Do we have role players? Contests by one person. And then when you have all these things divided, and when you say VP education, most important is talking to new members, understanding their requirements with reference to pathways, understanding their requirements to their long-term goals. So and understanding the club's DC points. So you want to combine both. You want to align the individual's achievement with the club's achievements. So how many members do I have who are doing level 1? Is this person going slow? Have they been absent? Are they doing something or not doing something? Do they have a mentor who is following up on? See, this is where delegation to mentors comes in. It is a mentor's job to ensure that the individual does their projects and does them properly. So when you have this delegation like this, your life becomes easier. And then, so with better planning, you have your deadlines and you ensure that between whoever you have delegated it to and yourself and the club, you have a smoother transition. So you don't have to concentrate on all these things at the same time, but pay attention to something during the contest time, pay attention to something else during the magazine time, pay attention to something during an area event. So you're not burning yourself out by being intense throughout the year. Does that help?
Yes, madam.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
How do we develop influencing skill and make a small group of people follow my ideas at work? One, do you know what you're talking about? Do you have facts and figures at your fingertips? Have you done your homework? This applies equally to the office. It applies equally at Toastmasters. When I have an idea that is coming forward, am I saying something that is likely to be addressing a particular problem, giving a particular solution? What am I offering? When you consistently do your homework, bring your facts and figures and bring to the table something of substance, people will look at you. So that you may start as a very junior person, as a brand new member of the organization, but if you say the right thing at the right time, within a certain, and I would also say, a lot of people underestimate the role of secretary and Toastmasters. Documenting everything is a fabulous skill that you need. You document what you need when you're talking to your clients, document what happens at office meetings. You will have a lot of data at your fingertips, which you can refer to. And that is one of the things people will say, oh, Tejal has all this kind of information. Let's go back to Tejal, or Joe is here. Let's ask Joe about this particular thing. That is how you build up a reputation, when you have domain expertise. And then you will be, most of the time, you may be actually unconsciously influencing people. Because I was very startled when, when I became LGET or whatever, very recently somebody said, the very fact that you're standing up there in a sari, a leader in a, on the stage, was the biggest influence. So it's not always conscious. Yes, any other questions?
I saw Toastmaster Karupaswamy, he raised his hands.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. Again, Karupaswamy from Rising Pillars. About the goal setting, there are many parameters. You told how to set goals, how to prioritize that goals, and then how to sustain that. It will be very year to year, or we have to maintain the same priority for the next year.
It really depends. See, now, for example, if you have set your goal that you want to be a DTM in 3 years or 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to think in terms of what are the educational pathways that I need to cover? what are the office, district officer positions that I need to apply for? And what are, if my path has an HPL, how is that done? And if it is a DTM, there is also something called a DTM project.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
a lot of people will say in terms of area director, I want to be area director simply because it sounds nice and I want to be a DTM. All right. Now, that is not sufficient grounds for becoming an area director. What are your competencies? Do you understand the job? Do you know what is involved?
Yeah.
Study it before, be an assistant area director to somebody to understand, be part of the area council, help with the current area director. That's how you are setting your long-term vision, and you will also get ideas for that. So, as assistant area director, you could, for example, organize area contests. That could be your HPL. So you're killing two birds with one stone. You've got an HPL, you've got your area director experience, area director experience. You're becoming visible because the other area directors know you, the division directors knows you. So the whole thing becomes much easier. So you'll find it doesn't require effort.
Yes.
Right. So then you sustain it according to that and put in as much effort as is required at any particular time. For example, if your area director, the visits have to be uploaded, that has to be done at a particular time. So the planning out the visits, ensuring that the data is uploaded, that has to be done according to a deadline set by TI. So you have to have one set of, have a deadline that you have of your own. So see how you do that. So you combine the two and then get on with it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome. I hope that was helpful.
Dear members, we have shared a feedback form in the chat box. So please fill that form. We would like to hear from you for our future sessions. Thank you so much. Ma'am, one more question from my side. Actually, your session is so intriguing and I have some questions. So this is about servant leadership. So is it like if we follow servant leadership, we are failing to divide and delegate work?
No, servant leadership is servant leadership is ensuring that your team has the best facilities, resources, and you are helping them in every which way possible. You're not standing there like a corporate or an authoritarian leader standing there and saying, you have to do this or else you will be fired. If you don't do this within 30 hours, client is doing this and, I will have to report you and I'll have to escalate it. That threatening attitude is there in a lot of corporates. But a servant leadership is, how can I help you? Do you have a problem with this? Let me help you. I will show you what can be done, or I will put you onto somebody that can help you. And the servant leadership is, doing things even without a title. So that also is part of the thing to serve Toastmasters, doing all these education sessions, doing stuff for maybe even mentoring people in leadership. All of these things is part of a servant leadership thing rather than anything else. So I would say that's one way of looking at it. Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
One more question, Arun here. Now, most of the time, members are doing some leadership roles in the club level, be it XCOM or any contest management or beyond that. They got good recognition, getting noticed in Toastmaster environment. But the same thing they are not able to achieve in the office environment. Despite their hard work, despite their skills, they're not getting recognized or get noticed. So what is the thing that they are doing in Toastmasters but missing in their office?
Now, one thing you have to remember is that Toastmasters is what we call an encouraging environment and a very appreciative one. We're very happy to have people do something. We say, oh, good job, great job. We will not necessarily get that recognition in the office. But if you do your best and follow what I call the ABCD principle, above and beyond the call of duty, when you do your job excellently, when you do your job with a little extra for the client, or sometimes go out of your way to get something done, clients will notice you. Now, This is where personal branding and all these things come in. Ask your client to write it down, letter of appreciation, testimonials, all of these things. Write them down, record them, keep them, and show them to your HR during performance appraisal or any other time. Keep a record for yourself. Another simple thing is getting recommendations from people on LinkedIn. That also helps improve your visibility. Put in Toastmasters and what you have done in Toastmasters in your biodata. That will immediately show that you have been doing things that are not necessarily part of the organization thing, but is actually beyond what the organization requires. You may have taken up leadership responsibilities in Toastmasters that you have not done elsewhere. So this is a way of showcasing your ability to be a leader. And that should reflect in your, and in the office, be a servant leader, enable others, empower others, respect others. They will do the same to you. So don't go expecting people to heap praises on you because you've done so good, you're so good, and all of those things. When you enable others, when you respect others, it will come back to you. So that's one way of.
Neena ma'am, this is Neha again.
Yes.
So on the similar topic, right? I have felt at times that we are overpricing or overdoing the appreciation part in Toastmasters, and we are not being genuine in our feedback that whatever the other person is doing is wrong. So we try to polish it in an appreciation mode so that it gets hidden under.
Okay. To some extent, I agree with you. So we need to balance our language in Toastmasters where we don't say every speech is, oh, so wonderful. That's the best speech I ever heard. My favorite whitewash thing is this not so new Toastmaster who said, oh, that was such a wonderful speech. You will become a DTM in 6 months. So that shows the level when people go overboard with their evaluations and this thing. So we need a balance between appreciating people, between whitewashing them and, covering up everything. And I think evaluations play a very important role here because we need to give a balanced feedback. Evaluation is constructive feedback. Evaluation is understanding what the person said, assessing what he or she did according to the project objectives and his or her personal level, analyzing whether he or she has met the project objectives or not, and then giving feedback on the speech, the pluses and the minuses, without hurting the person or elevating them too much. So you can point out flaws, you can point out areas. That's why we Toastmasters, we don't say flaws, we say areas of improvement. So some of these are words you can use back in the office, but definitely I agree with you. We need a kind of balance between all of these things. Yes.
Madam, can I add for 10 seconds?
Please do, sir.
I was new to Toastmastering in 2016-15. I got evaluated by DTM Neena John.
Oh,
okay. Because the regular evaluator did not turn up, they requested you. It was a diagnosis. It was a literal diagnosis. Initially, if you get feedback, maybe if you are a newbie, I was very new at that time, you go down a bit, but it is to go up. It's something like you go back and give a jab, no? Something like that. If you hit like this, you won't get the force. You go back and you just go down and go up. And I can say, if you get evaluated by professional evaluators like Neena John, this we will not think of. I mean, it was a lift in my speech, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Without microscope, you diagnosed it now. It was like this
Thank you, sir.
all in 2.5 minutes. So
Thank you, sir. Please remember this is being recorded, and I will remember this for the
sorry, sir.
future for my documentation.
No, I thought I can share. And if you get evaluated by senior Toastmasters who do both, I'm sure this, this happens, but I don't think all are doing it. See, we are going to, when we evaluate, we are trying to help the other person, not just by appreciating, but by helping them to become better. When the person is going to give the next speech, it is the responsibility, moral responsibility of the evaluator to ensure that the next speech of the speaker is better. So if we evaluate like that, I'm sure this complaint will not come.
Thank you, sir. That was
Thank you,
brilliant and a lovely summary of the fact that genuine evaluation is what raises the quality of a club. It is crucial to a club's quality to have evaluators that are to the point and yet help the speakers become better. And that's really, really important. So now that Toastmaster Joe has given me that, I'm going to ask you guys for more feedback. So those of you who like the thing, please raise your hands and tell me what you liked about today's thing. I think we're running out of time now. Yeah. Anybody would like to tell me what a wonderful speech I did? Please feel free to unmute and tell me.
Sorry, I missed the early part, ma'am. I was held up in a contest.
Okay.
So I missed the first part. Hopefully I can see the recording. Hope it is available.
Right. Yeah. Nobody wants to say anything. Go on, Ashwati. We can close the program.
Madam, I'll tell ma'am, the voice modulation, no? You talk with your voice modulation. When you said the difference between authoritarian leadership and servant leadership, you just brought it with your voice.
Okay.
And it is not new to me. I've been seeing this for 6 or 7 years. Right from 2017, 13, I'm seeing this. But today also, you are the same DTM Nina John. I saw.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So you convey without words, just with intonation. That's it.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Tejal want to say something.
So, ma'am, this session was very interesting, and it was very much encouraging for me specifically from the perspective, because my club is not doing that great, but I feel that, I mean, the last year it was like at its peak, and now it has come down, and that is where I have joined as a as a EC member. So for me, there's a lot of takeaways to bring the club to a level where at least it is sustainable.
Thank you, sir. That's what I basically wanted to know. How useful has this been for you people as a session about being professionals, about being better Toastmasters? So anything anybody has to add, I would like to hear their views.
Any more questions? Please feel free to ask, or you can even share your feedback.
Yeah. Yes, a group of Toastmasters who are speechless.
Ma'am, I have one question. Sorry to ask very late. I have one question. If you answer me once again, it will be like a kind of good clarity for me. So, how to use the Toastmasters skills in our professionalism?
See, if you have, for example, are you part of the XCOM now, or what are you doing, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a treasurer in Global Toastmasters Forum.
You're?
Treasurer.
You're the treasurer. Yeah.
Yes.
So as treasurer of this thing, I handle club accounts. I handle finances. My job is to get member subscriptions and send them to Toastmasters International. So it is a job involving a lot of integrity and a lot of work as far as digital uploading is concerned, as far as keeping track of member payments is concerned, to making sure that the club is an active club. These are all the things that the treasurer has to do, because remember, if the treasurer, you know what they say in contests, you have to be a member of good standing of a club of good standing. So if the club treasurer does not upload enough memberships on time, the club loses its standing as a club. The club can be suspended. So it's a very, very important job. It's not just a question of channeling the subscriptions from member to TI and staying quiet. And also handling all the finances with reference to the club, club activities, logistics, all of that. So you can note that down in 3 or 4 bullet points and say, these are my responsibilities as treasurer. Okay, does that help?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, madam. This is Prabhakar from Rane Toastmaster Club. I've been to this Toastmaster last 6 months. So during my initial period, even myself was very much interested. All my team members were very enthusiastic to joining the meeting. And nowadays, catching the team members, we are struggling a lot. And having a weekly meeting itself, we are struggling. Can you throw some tips to handle the team?
Right. See, one of the things is because we expect, unfortunately, we have a system where VP is chasing people to do speeches, right? As if that is not the most important part of Toastmasters. Look at the parts that each individual is doing. And for example, the one most people take up first is presentation mastery. So show them how presentation mastery, doing presentations at the club, will help you do better presentations in the office, will help you deal better with clients. For example, you do a presentation immediately, or there's another project where you have for another plot, that is a hostile audience or whatever. So one is doing presentation mastery itself. People can give you feedback on how you're doing that. Was your eye contact good? Were you using props? So did you cover the topic? All of those things. So that is amazingly useful for taking back to the office. Second is, for example, if you have a hostile audience which is asking you questions, those are the kind, you're anticipating the questions that either your manager, boss, or client will ask. So do that in a safe environment to ask your people to give you questions like that. When you go back to the office, your presentation is beautifully done. You're able to do a good job. Please also remember that all Toastmaster projects can be done in the office, do not need to be presented at the club. For example, if you have something like there's an elective of online meetings, it's there in every single part. Just go to online meetings, conduct your regular office meeting, file it and tell your VPE, I have conducted an online meeting. That is taken care of. There is something called a social media presence. If you're on FB, LinkedIn, all of these things, note that down. Your social media presence is taken care of. If you're in the office and if you're a senior person and you're giving an award of somebody, that is your social speeches. Right, the market of, see, you do not have to go project by project by project all the way from level 1 to level 5. You should please sit with your mentor and see which are the projects you can do and mark off the electives, have a long-term plan, so that if you're doing something like HPL, somebody has given you information about the fact that it may require 3 months to 1 year. So you can do your HPL, start planning for your HPL parallel to your other parts. Whatever you are doing, ensure that as a corporate, you are showing them the benefits of Toastmasters in their corporate life in terms of presentations. And table topics, the biggest secret weapon we have in Toastmasters. Remember the simple principle: if you cannot convince them, confuse them. Use that for your clients. Immediately, your life will be much easier. Use it for your clients, use it for your managers, use it for your spouse, whatever you want to do. Table topics to your rescue. So practice table topics. and take it to wherever you want. Does that help you, sir?
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I guess we are nearing the closure of this great session. So thank you so much for elucidating every single factor which is crucial for improving our leadership and communication skills, especially to grow professionally. So, and thank you for talking about the lockdown challenges. And I'm sure each one of us are really struggling to overcome those challenges nowadays. And the key point which I could get from that is let the technology be an enabler, not a destructor. And let's become more empathetic towards our co-workers. So, and the most important point which I'm going to follow from today is to say, learn to say no. And definitely that was a great message. And so now it's time to call our Division Director, Toastmaster Arun Kumar, for expressing our gratitude for this great session. Over to you, Toastmaster Arun Kumar.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ashwati. Good evening to all Toastmasters. My sincere thanks and gratitude to distinguished Toastmaster Neena John for her availability and presence for us with this Sunday evening. Wow, what an amazing and productive Sunday we had today. Lots and lots of takeaways. In fact, I have taken the notes full of my diary, starting from the industry disruption, collaborating across the world, great resignation. All the working people, you should aware what this great resignation is all about. And then about the personal branding, everything, lots and lots of takeaways. Thank you, ma'am. And great thanks to Toastmaster Ashwati Rajan. There is a saying that once you set up your team, half of the work is done. In that way, I'm grateful and lucky that I had Toastmaster Ashwati Rajan as our division event chair. She came up with a lot of innovative idea, and this is the first. And there are many more are going to come back. And again, my thanks to all the Toastmasters for your availability, even though it is a Sunday evening. I hope there is a great takeaway for you all. I request you all to fill the feedback form if you have not done already, and also provide your valuable feedback on what areas you are expecting in the future sessions. We are going to conduct a series of events targeting how we can leverage Toastmasters into our profession. And my thanks to Toastmaster Joe Srinivasan sir as well, Division E Director, for his presence. This week had a great evening. Thank you all once again. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Arun. And thank you all the fellow Toastmaster for joining, especially on a Sunday evening. And you have really taken a wise decision to attend this session. I hope you are filled, your bucket is filled with so many takeaways today. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you once again, distinguished Toastmaster Neena John, for making this evening such a fruitful evening for us. And as you said, that don't look around for an inspiration, be an inspiration. So I'm sure that after today's session, we all are going to try, and of course we are going to become an inspiration for others. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for inviting me. All those who have any doubts, please feel free to contact me personally with all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks for this arrangement.
Thank you. Thanks for joining, Srinivasan sir. Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you. At last, I've come. Long overdue, right? Visiting this division, your club program and all that.
How did you guys find the session?
Ma'am, I came only
Very
for the
useful.
last stop, ma'am. That itself was very worthy, ma'am. I was held up in a oh, sorry, you are asking me? Sorry.
I didn't hear you. No, can you just repeat what you said, sir? Joe.
Yeah. The part I attended only the last 45 minutes or so. That itself was very useful.